Hello! In this presentation, we will be discussing literary analysis. Our goals will be to understand what exactly a literary analysis is, what literary devices are, and some of the basic steps to write an analytical paper. A literary analysis is an examination of an existing work. It is not a summary of that work. In another presentation, we explained the differences between summaries and analyses. In simple terms, a summary recounts the plot of a work, whereas an analysis explores the message, themes, literary devices, and more within a work. Summary is about what happens, and analysis focuses on how and why. A literary device is a means by which an author communicates their message. Some literary devices are fairly obvious and straightforward, while others are more complex or cryptic. A few examples are allegory, satire, and imagery. Allegories use the details of one story to represent another. The Crucible by Arthur Miller uses the Salem witch trials to symbolize the fear of communism and communists in the 1950s. Satire uses exaggeration and sarcasm to critique something. The film They Live uses exaggeration to critique consumer and corporate culture. Imagery compares statements to sensory experiences. In order to write an effective analysis, one must be very familiar with the text. The first step is reading the text in its entirety. Many students find it helpful to make notes or to highlight parts of the text as they read to reference later when they begin writing. While reading, take note of some of the literary devices being used, as well as content you find particularly effective. Afterward, conduct a bit of research on the author, the time period in which the work was written, and other details that might be helpful. In any essay, it's important to present a clear point and argue for it. This argument will be your opinion, but it should be based on facts and support from the text being analyzed. As you are reading and making notes, start forming this argument in your mind. At this point, begin assembling your evidence. Look over the notes you made while reading, and research you performed. Use of quotes from the text can reinforce those points. Additionally, ensure that any evidence used is explained adequately. Anytime a quote is used, give some context and analysis of the quote. Finally, conclude the essay with a restatement of your position. Now let's have a look at the activity sheet. Why is context so important when writing a literary analysis? Remember that when writing, it's important to remember the context surrounding when and how the work was written in order to gain insight into the author's perspective and arguments. Likewise, evidence being presented should be adequately explained to the audience. What is a literary device? List 5 examples. Authors will often use a story to make a broader point about the culture in which they live. They may use historical events to make a statement about their own time period, or use exaggerated details to critique some aspect of society. What does the term explication mean? How is it important within a literary analysis paper? Analysis is not just a summary. It's an examination of a work. Often the themes and devices used will warrant further discussion. Explication means to clarify and explain the points being made by both the original author and the author of the essay. When writing a literary analysis, it is important to find an, if not the, underlying meaning behind a body of work. Write a claim based off the outline sheet in the LibGuides for the following fables. Remember to look beyond the surface level events to the meaning behind those events. We hope that this workshop has been useful. If you have any further questions or would like individual help with the literary analysis, please feel free to stop by for a one-on-one session with one of our tutors.